Story 1. My friend told me this about a month or so after his mother passed away. She died of a heart attack while she was taking a walk out in their back garden. There were no suspicious circumstances or anything unusual. Everything was normal around their house for about a month. Then, my friend swears that strange things started happening. The garden where she died just seemed to stop being healthy. All the plants died even though they were still being watered on a somewhat normal basis. Additionally, strange noises could be heard throughout the house, along with the sound of things being knocked over. One night he was woken up by one of these noises, so he walked from his room to the kitchen to get a drink of water to try and clear his head. When he came around the corner, he swears he saw his mother standing at the stove cooking something, and he said he could even smell the food. The ghost of his mother or her apparition turned around, looked at him and smiled. He started to back away. He wanted to scream and run, but he just couldn't bring himself to do it. The ghost walked out their back door onto their deck and beckoned for him to follow. He did. The ghost walked out to their back garden, back to where his mother had been found. He stood there and just watched for a few minutes. The ghost stood on that exact spot for about 10 minutes, and the whole time my friend remained quiet while trying to stay calm. Eventually, the apparition faded away. My friend stuck around for a few minutes afterward just to be safe. Later, he went back inside and tried to fall back asleep. The next morning, he thought he had just experienced a bad nightmare. He went outside to the spot in the garden where the ghost had been, and where his mother had died. On the exact spot where the ghost had stood for those 10 minutes, a group of about 5 roses was growing, one for each member of their family, he claims. My friend, his sister, his older brother, their father, and one for the dog. I didn't believe him at first. That is, until he sent me a picture of the group of roses surrounded by all the dead plants. I wish I still had the picture, but this ordeal took place almost half a year ago. It still gives me chills when I think about it. I can't even begin to imagine what it is like for him. By ShipsNow07. The story ends. Story 2. When I was in high school, I had a very good friend who lived next door to a house that was always up for sale. People would move out in the middle of the night without a word, and it hadn't had the same owner for more than 6 months at a time for a couple of years. One night we were really bored, and he suggested we go explore the house next door since it had sat empty for a while. We went around back and found a dog door that he could crawl through. He unlocked the door and let me in. The house itself was quite unremarkable. It looked like it was built in maybe the 1950s and was a craftsman-style house in an older, nicer part of town. My friend's house was built similarly. The kitchen had a very nice built-in breakfast table set against a picture window. The house's electricity was off, but you could see the street light through the window. My friend and I sat down on the floor across from this table and were just hanging out and talking. Why? Who knows? All of a sudden my friend screams, and in that instant, my vision goes black. It wasn't just that I couldn't see. My body was engulfed in a sickly coldness from head to toe. I started screaming and I felt my friend's hand grabbing mine and pulling me in some direction forcefully. My vision slowly returned, and I started to warm up when I realized that we were outside under the streetlight. It was December and it should have been much warmer inside that house. Finally, I looked at my friend, and he looked terrified. I was really confused and panicked myself, and I finally asked him what happened. He said that while I was talking, a black thing, a figure that was all black and had the vague shape of a girl, crawled out from under the table and sat on top of me. Apparently, I started reaching around with my eyes wide open as if I couldn't see, and he was so frightened that he pulled me out of the house. We are still friends and we bring it up every now and then, but the story itself never changes and it still sends chills down my spine. To this day, I have never felt such blackness or coldness in my life. It was palpable, almost sticky. For a couple of days afterward, I couldn't shake that unsettling feeling, and I could never walk past that house again. I am actually scared to get out of bed now. By Agrit. The story ends. Story 3. Every time I stay at my grandma's house, I hear someone walking upstairs. It starts at one side of the room, casually walks to the other and stops. This happens maybe twice a night. I didn't start hearing it until I was about 14, when my grandparents had me start sleeping in a different room on the first floor because they began sleeping in separate bedrooms. Regardless, both of their rooms are also on the first floor. For a little backstory, I have always been afraid of the upstairs in their house. I don't know why, but it has always freaked me out and I refuse to ever go up there alone. I am 23 now and still won't go up alone. There is one room specifically though. It is a long, narrow bedroom. When you open the door, there are closets on your left and right, a bed placed roughly in the middle of the room, and a window on the far side opposite the door. I was told growing up by my grandparents that the sons of the previous owner claimed to see a gorilla come out of the closet at night, dance around the room and go back into the closet. I thought nothing of this story until I had to start sleeping in the other room, the room located directly below that scary room upstairs. So we all go to bed. All the lights in the house are off and I am still awake, lying on the bed. Then I heard it. Thump, 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 starting at one end of the room upstairs. It got closer to me, passed right above me, and continued to the end of the room, where it stopped. I was wide awake and terrified. There was no question that I had heard footsteps. I knew that slow, casual pace. I was panicked and went to my grandpa's room. I told him what I heard. He told me that the house is old and it just creaks, but he turned the dining room light on for me, so I felt a little safer. I tried going back to sleep. Then it started again, this time from where it had ended the first time, by the window upstairs. It walked over me again and stopped when it reached the door. I thought it was over until 5 seconds later when I heard it coming down the stairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Silence as it reached the landing, then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and silence again as it reached the first floor. I was frozen in shock. Whatever it was on my floor of the house, and sadly unaffected by the dining room light. I was staring at the doorway to my room. The dining room light was shining in, and my vision began to distort. I felt dizzy with fear, so I pulled the blankets over my head and suddenly heard a scratching sound from inside my room. I knew exactly where it was coming from too, my grandpa's gun case. It was a very obvious sound, scratching on the wood. Long scratches down the front of the gun case door. I could even hear the door ever so slightly tapping against the frame as each scratch began. I tried to scream and I couldn't. I took a second to take a deep breath and let out a loud scream. In seconds, my grandpa had made it to my room and I was relieved. Needless to say, he still didn't believe me. So I did what any person would do. I draped a sheet over the side of the bed and slept underneath it. I wrapped myself tight in a comforter, put on headphones and turned my back to the door. There could have been a party of ghosts in my room, and I wouldn't even have known. The next morning, my grandpa told my grandma about what happened the night before. She said, "Oh, that is silly. You know, your cousin woke me up the last time she stayed here. She came into my room saying she heard footsteps. I slept under the bed for the rest of my week-long stay with them. I have stayed there countless times since that happened, and I hear the footsteps every time. I sleep on top of the bed now, but I keep my back to the door and sleep with headphones on. I haven't heard it come down the stairs since that first night, but if it does, I don't want to know." By D.K. Cuter. The story ends. Story 4. I used to work as a cleaner at my school after class, so by the time I left, the roads were pretty quiet as everyone had already walked home. One day I noticed this man walking behind me, not too close, but obviously following me. He was quite creepy. His face looked like it was made of plastic, and he had a very subtle smile. Anyway, the first time I saw him, I thought nothing of it. About 2 weeks later, I noticed him again, and from then on, I saw him every single day when I was walking home. I didn't tell anyone because I was 16, and I knew my parents would want to start driving me to and from school, and that isn't considered cool. Anyway, one weekend I was walking to my friend's house, which was a similar route to the one I would take to school. As I was turning onto the main road that he would follow me on, I happened to look over at a minibus that was parked at the bottom of the road, and I swear, he was sitting in the driver's seat staring through the windows at me. I called my friend and made it very obvious that I was on the phone, thinking it might deter him, but when I next turned around, he was about 2 meters behind me with that same plastic-looking smile. I started to walk and run, and I could actually hear him doing the same, keeping the same pace and distance the whole time. I was still on the phone with my friend, and I told her to open her front door and wait for me. When I got there, I ran straight in and we locked the door. The guy just stood outside her house for about 2 hours, smiling and staring in the window. After that, I never saw him again, and I have moved away since, but when I went back to visit my parents last weekend, that minibus was still there, parked in the exact same spot. By Cloggy, the story ends